on September 4th, 1918. Today, we have a different news segment. For what seems like years now, we've been covering the war in Europe. Today, we will be covering the war at home.
That's right, Justin. We have been giving you extensive coverage on what's going on in Europe, but we haven't talked much about how Americans at home are contributing to our victory. Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming Michelle Perlman to talk about it.
Yeah! Woo!
Good evening, Michelle, and welcome to the Ellickmpjf News.
Thanks, good to be here.
So let's cut right to the chase here. Tell us about the contributions American home are making to the war.
Well, many people think that the war is only being fought by soldiers, but every day, America, you and I are doing simple things to help out, I hope. Factories have stopped producing its usual products and started producing materials and weapons for the war. People are growing their own food in victory gardens. Grocery stores are passing out pledge forms for people to pledge to conserve food. And people are even wearing clothes longer so that extra material can be used for soldiers' uniforms. Many Americans have heatless and lightless days to conserve fuel for the war. Did you know that daylight savings time was created to save the city? I'm sure you've even seen the slogan, "Wheatless Mondays and Wednesdays and Meatless Tuesdays," on pamphlets or posters. Americans are making so many sacrifices for this war. Basically, Americans are conserving everything everywhere they can due to the shortages on many goods.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just a quick question. Why now are there shortages on many goods?
Well, first off, goods need to be sent to our soldiers and the soldiers of our allies, so that alone just causes the need to conserve goods. Also, because workers left to fight in the war, there are not as many workers to produce those goods. We are seeing a classic case of a higher demand than supply, which can have a good effect because it's causing higher wages for everyone.
Now, you mentioned a little bit about the labor effects this war is having on our country. Can you talk about that a little more?
Well, like most wars, this war has had a very positive effect on our economy, specifically jobs. Like I mentioned earlier, because many workers fight in the war, many jobs have opened up. Companies are now hiring workers they once rejected. Everyone is desperate for laborers. Workers are receiving higher wages, and particularly metal workers, shipbuilders, and meat packers. There's also been an increase in jobs for African Americans, women, and Mexicans. The chaos of the Mexican Revolution had many Mexicans to flee north. Women are entering the workplace and replacing male workers in steel mills, ammunition factories, and assembly lines. This was a great time for African Americans. African Americans are coming north to escape the racism, poverty, and violence in the South. Many have given this the name the Great Migration.
Thanks, Michelle. Last year, President set up the War Industries Board. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. The War Industries Board was set up last year to regulate the production and purchase of weapons. It's working and worked to get rid of waste in the weapon industry and have the power to say who produced how much of what.
Thank you. This is turning out to be the most expensive war yet. How is the government for it, and is it affecting millions?
The cost of this war is very high, and Americans are definitely feeling it. Some of your tax money is used to pay for the war. Sin taxes, which are on tobacco and liquor, are also used to pay for the war. The interest you pay on the Liberty bonds you buy from the government pays for more than half the war.
Ms. Perlman, why do you think Americans have been so involved in this? It sounds like someone has cast a spell over them or something.
Well, you're exactly right. It is someone cast a spell over them, and that someone is George Creel. Creel is the head of the Committee on Public Information, also known as the CPI. The CPI makes cartoons, pamphlets, and posters in an effort to sell the war. They're trying to get as many people possible involved in the war. They're convincing people to buy Liberty bonds and enlist in the war. They're sending very strong anti-German messages to raise hatred of the enemy. Every ounce of German culture is being stamped out by Creole. German food names, such as have been replaced with the names Liberty Cabbage. Some German descents are even being persecuted. The CPI is trying to make our nation as pro-war as possible, and it's not a good time to freely express your opinion against the war. New acts are passed limiting people's freedom and forcing people to support America. The first is the Espionage Act, which states the government can hide information from the public and no one can refuse a draft. The second is the Sedition Act, which makes it illegal to speak out against America. America's image, which used to be so great because it was one of the only places you could freely express your opinions, is starting to turn into the image we were once trying to avoid.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm so sorry, but we have to go. We are out of time. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you soon.
You too. Thank you so much.
Here's some pictures that'll strengthen your knowledge of the home front. This is an advertisement by the Committee on Public Information. You may have seen something like this in your local grocery store or plastered on city lights. It shows a heroic person and a Boy Scout, both very symbolically good people, convincing civilians to buy U.S. bonds. You may have also seen this poster throughout the streets. This poster convinces people to conserve food, specifically wheat, so we can win the war. If the soldiers do not have enough food, we cannot win the war.